Hey, welcome to today's episode. I'm excited to share with you a phenomenal guest. Today's guest needs no introduction. She is an actress, a producer, a model, a poet, and so much more. She has acted alongside Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Nicolas Cage, Morgan Freeman, Antonio Banderas, and Jessica Simpson. She has also been in CSI New York. She has been in Law and Order SVU, which we've all seen, and Cold Case. She is a producer. She creates NFTs. She does cartoon animation voiceover and is an author. Welcome, Katie Chonacas, to the show. Katie, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Michael, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be here and add a lot of value. Thank you so much.
Awesome. This is going to be a fantastic interview. Hey, before we dive in, can you share with our listeners just a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Sure. I come from a big Greek family. I was born in Michigan, and I love language. I love literature. I love poetry. So, being Greek, we were exposed to Socrates and Plato and, Greek mythology and goddesses and gods. So it really gave permission for me to able to explore these, beautiful worlds. So that was really, really exciting. And then my dad, he and I, we share the same birthday, 11/11, and he was a cross country runner, and he turned me onto cross country running. And, I figured out at a really young age, what you do as an individual affects the whole, right? So I would get an individual score when I ran cross country, and then there would be the collective team score. So I was able to apply this into life in my workplace of what I do as an individual affects other people, so affects the whole. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing a little bit about that with us. Actually reminded me of I wrote my first poem when I was 13 years old. I first got into yeah, so
Cute.
it's pretty cool. Let me ask you before we dive in about NFTs and some other things, you've had like a colorful career and what would you say is the funniest moment that you remember on the set, in maybe your acting career? Is there anything that like rings a bell? Any other memorable moments on set while filming?
Yeah. I do have a really memorable moment of being on set one time. There was three Katies on set, and so the director called the one Katie, the DP, then I was another Katie, then there was another Katie. So because of my voice, and I do voiceovers, but they didn't know I did voiceovers. They called me Cartoon Katie, and that actually gave me my branded name of Cartoon Katie. It stuck with me so much. But there were so many fun moments on set because when the director would say Katie, everyone didn't know which Katie he was talking about. And so that was really funny, and it was like an ongoing thing for the 5 weeks we were on set together.
Yeah, I could definitely relate with that. I've been on sports teams where there was 4 mics, so I could
Oh wow.
definitely relate with that. How did you first get into NFTs and crypto? Like, can you take us down the path
Yeah.
of, how you got in?
I have such an exciting, brilliant story, and it's so fun to talk about. So what happened was, it was in 2018, and I was just being a social butterfly, dipping my toes and hands into everything as I do, and traveling the world, and just being involved in everything artistic and anything that's fun and colorful, like you mentioned. And a friend of mine asked me to DJ this art event. So when you're a DJ, if you have the luxury, you go the day before, you do a sound check, you look at the space, things of that nature. So I went there, and there were just like 30 people there, and there were artists hanging up their artwork and putting up sculptures, and all these different things were happening. I'm like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's like cool. They're like, I was wearing a Keith Haring sweatshirt, and they're like, oh, you're a physical painter as well. I'm like, yeah. They're like, have your art in the show at the event tomorrow. And so my very first crypto experience, it was the 1111 fund, which is my birthday 1111. It was downtown LA. And not only was I DJing on this rooftop amazing party where they had this chef there, and they had all this like gourmet sushi, and it just went on for hours. And I even curated like a vendor friend of mine to like come and like curate like some other things. But they had 7 of my physical art pieces up going as NFTs for
Wow.
crypto. And so I was a 2-in-1. I was DJing and had my physical art in a show. And I have NFT artist friends from that very show
Wow.
today. It's so
Wow.
wild.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's like talk about a
Yeah.
surprise, a pleasant surprise. And now you have
Mhm.
you have a podcast about NFTs, is that correct? Or
Yeah, I actually have an NFT podcast. I wanted to, over a year ago, release my podcast as NFTs, and I'm actually the very first podcaster to release my podcast as NFTs. I did that a few weeks ago. All of them will be NFTs. I just first released the first 10 as NFTs on Hey Lair, and then I'm going to release other ones. I'm going to curate them in
okay.
segments and put them on different marketplaces. I think it's really important to be on multiple
Yeah.
marketplaces so we can find
Yeah.
one another, and things of that nature. But yeah, it's actually focused on arts and entertainment with ethics, morals, and values, and specifically focused season 4 women empowerment series about
Oh,
NFTs, the education of
awesome. So
NFTs.
so each episode, you're uploading them as NFTs, each episode. Yeah?
It's an NFT podcast. I'm uploading them, and like the current one, season 4, they're not
Uh-huh.
NFTs yet. Season 1,
Yeah.
they're
Wonderful.
NFTs, and then
Wow.
yeah. Mhm.
So, Katie, you're an author and you're the first NFT artist to actually release a love poem on the blockchain. Is that correct? First one
Indeed,
ever.
yes,
Take us
yes.
take us down that rabbit hole. Share with us about how that came to be and, how you wrote the poem, everything.
Sure, sure. So, I have a poetry book called A Lover's Fairy Tale, which is available everywhere. And when I was releasing the book, I wanted to release all the poetry pieces as NFTs, and the artwork that goes along with the poetry, which is art within itself, the
Mhm.
language, right? Is with my friend Robert Sturman, who's an amazing international artist, from these Polaroids that we curated. So by Polaroid, and Polaroid discontinued the original Polaroid, and we have this collaboration we did. So I took the very first poetry piece from the book A Lover's Fairy Tale, and I coupled it with the Polaroid, the original Polaroid, and I put it as an NFT, which was the very first love poem on the blockchain, coupled with this Polaroid, because all about NFTs is like, how is it rare, right? How is it super
Uh-huh.
rare? How is the non-fungible token rare? And so I thought, okay, not only having the love poem, but coupling it with this Polaroid, which was of me. It was around the time when I wrote the poetry piece, and so the visual aligns with my essence and soul and my presence of who I was and what I was growing through at the time. So I thought it was really apropos for those to be released together. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
And as you're speaking about
yeah.
this, everyone can see this on screen right now. So that's tell us about any other NFTs that you have planned and where do you get your inspiration as an NFT artist?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked. This is so exciting. So I just took new headshots. As an actor, like the number one thing is
Okay.
headshots, right? So I just got the proof yesterday, 777 photos.
What
Whoa, it's a lot. It's a lot of photos. It's
headshots,
overwhelming
all the
actually,
all
and
headshots,
it
just 7
all
more than
headshots.
700. Strike a pose, put
11
something
looks. I
to
did
it.
11
Vogue,
looks. Yeah, sure.
right?
Yeah. Vogue. What up?
Yeah.
Madonna. Yeah, love her.
Uh-huh.
uh, yeah. And so it's like so many photos, and you have to filter through them. But, overall photos, TV, film, dramatic, comedy, and then commercials are its
Uh-huh.
own thing. So smiley commercial photos. And then, overall, but then specific looks for characters, so like Emily in Paris, and like, so that's like could be a very, or Gossip Girl, but those are very specific
Uh-huh.
looks, right? And as an actor, you can be a chameleon, have multi-dimensional looks.
Ah,
So I did specific looks as well. Um,
taking mental
but
notes
so
right here.
to
I'm learning a lot. Shooting these videos is like a production. So I'm over here, taking notes, as you're talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1,000. So what I decided at the shoot was I'm going to be the very first artist actor to release a actor headshot on the blockchain. So I'm going to take some of those photos and I'm going to put it on different marketplaces and be the very first actor to release an actor headshot on the blockchain. One, two, I have a web series that I produced, season 1, 2, and 3. Season 1 and 2 I put on the YouTube on web 2, but I'm going to be the very first actor, producer, director to release a comedy improv series on the
Wow.
blockchain, and I'm actually dropping that
Wow.
next week. And so I'm dropping season 1, and I'm and then maybe maybe like one a day, or like
Yeah.
once a week, or maybe the whole thing, but I'm going to drop season 1, I'm going to drop season 2, and then I'm going to drop season 3, and it'll be a web series on the
Wow.
blockchain, so I'll be the first to do that. Yes. And then also I have short films that over a year ago I wanted to release my short films on the blockchain, but I'm doing it now. And so I have about 49 pieces of content of short films that I produced through the union, and I own the IP. I self-produce those because I can tell you the psychology of that after if you want to know. But to answer the question, I'm going to release the short films on the blockchain. One of the short films that won a lot of awards in the independent film festival circuit, I put them as like short little videos when like shorter content was more
Uh-huh.
popular, right? And so I'm going to release that as well. And then a lot of spoken word music videos I directed, produced, starred in, and then a lot of music videos that I directed and produced and starred in with my own music. Because
Yeah.
it's like acting. Music videos is it's very much
Yeah.
as acting. So first and foremost, I'm going to put the web
Okay.
series out, and then I'm going to release music videos and spoken word music videos on the
Fantastic.
blockchain.
And on this episode blog post page for this episode, any of those that you want to share so our listeners can make their way over and find it on the blockchain. We'll have all the links,
Totally.
whatever you
Yeah.
want to share. And then that makes me want
Cool.
to segue into Katie. You're a filmmaker. You produce couples therapy, right? Congratulations on that project, by the way. And can you
Thank
share with
you.
our audience, with our listeners, like a little bit about that project?
Sure. It's very vulnerable. My pleasure. It was my F it card. I was like, F it. Like we always want to put our best foot forward all the time, and, be glam and like regal and just like, the highlights, which is great, which is super important. But it's like, for all those 99 yos or the no's or the stories you don't hear about, and you hear about that one victory or the highlighted part, it was time to be more vulnerable and authentic, which is really important. What humanity is yearning for, authenticity, that
Yes.
connection. And so, being able to expose myself, but in a comical way. So it doesn't matter if it's
Uh-huh.
good or bad. It's energy. Energy is energy. And it doesn't matter if it was right or was wrong. We learned the lessons or we didn't, or we're going to keep doing till we learn the
Yeah.
lessons. So with the 2020, what happened in the world when it like blew up and we went through this, global thing together, I personally showed up and just put my head down in March of 2020. And I'm like, what can I do? And I'm like, create, act, just create. So just make it happen. Produce, directed. I, had a producing partner, called another producing partner, what East Coast to West Coast. They said yes. We showed up, we did it. And the thing is, a lot of people were laid off,
Yeah.
in the union. So normally I go through the union through SAG-AFTRA, but I know, with the union, with something that's scripted, I'm a union actor, scripted, you
Yeah.
go through the union. But how can I do something without going through the union? Because it would take not only weeks for paperwork to go through, but with everyone being laid off, it would take months, or how long. So how can I do it? I know I can do it if I
Uh-huh.
play myself. So if I say I'm Katie and I'm Katie in the
Um,
show, it can be improv, not scripted, and I can do it without, not doing it
yeah.
through the union. and I just needed to get it out. And I felt like it was really relatable. So couples therapy is about a couple who is stuck in a condo during the
Okay.
pandemic, and you have to face the stuff that you would normally numb yourself to, or get distracted to, or meet up with friends, or stay out late so you don't have to go home and see the wife or the husband, or you don't have to like,
Yeah.
deal with the stuff, but you're there having to deal. So we were able to do it. And another two of my producing partners, they're both
Uh-huh.
voiceover actors. So the therapist in the show, she was doing things with her voice and wore a wig and things of that nature. So we were able to play and talk about spirituality, and talk about like amazing different like products and stuff that I'm really attuned and aligned with, but teaching it in a comical way without being like, here you go, here's
Uh-huh.
this
Yeah,
product, right?
absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
think people really appreciate, especially what, we've all lived through the last 2 years. They really appreciate like authenticity and someone being, like just straight up real. And that's you did it in a creative way, and you did it during a time, when it was so needed, just like just having the foresight to future pace that out and to just grab the bull by the horns and do it. So fantastic. That's awesome. You know. I wanted
Thank
to ask
you.
you,
Thank you.
what
I
is it
appreciate
like? Because
that.
I know our listeners and our viewers are gonna, they would love to know some gold nuggets
Sure.
from you. You've had a phenomenal career, and you're exploding out right now. So, what is it like to act with like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Morgan Freeman, and all the other amazing actors such as yourself? What is that like? Just share a little bit of behind the scenes with our listeners. You know.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's meant to be. What's meant for you as an individual, no matter what it is in arts and entertainment, or whatever, what's meant for you will happen for you. And so when these opportunities came along, like, it was so exciting. But I did so much preparation and work, as an athlete, right? You prepare. I run 50 miles a week, and then you do the race, and it's 3.1 miles, and then you're in the race. You're not thinking about, you do the preparation before. So day to day, moment to moment, when you're on the journey, you're doing it. I've learned to enjoy the process along the way. So when these moments come where it's like Nicolas Cage is like right
Yeah.
in front of my face, it's like I feel deep within my bones and my soul and my essence, and I'm honoring
Uh,
that moment, and I'm in it, and I'm so focused on the craft. I'm not thinking about in the moment, like, oh, Nicolas
yeah.
Cage is in my face. But when Werner Herzog personally called me and, asked me to be a part of the film, The Bad Lieutenant Protocol New Orleans, 2 weeks prior, that's when I was able to be in a fantasy and preparing of how I wanted to be when I met Nicolas Cage and his
Yeah.
character. So there is some buildup along the way, but I mean, it's so giddy and excited. And when you're on Warner Brothers, and you're on the lot for a week working, and it's so amazing, and you just don't want it to end. And so what I've learned along the way, because everything comes to an end and it transitions into something else, is when you're in that high, where else
Yeah.
can you go, right?
Mhm.
So I've learned to be able to transition along
Okay.
the way, for self-care, so you don't go all the way
Yeah.
down, so you a safety net. But just knowing ethical boundaries of healthy communication, and sticking to being very
Yeah.
professional on set. And and if one is open, and there's a chance for, now with social media, following each other on social media, or connecting with them, and then nurturing each individual relationship. It just depends on who I'm working with, and
Yeah.
circumstances. So making sure we honor those
Awesome. Hey,
moments.
thanks for sharing that. I've been a big Nicolas Cage fan since Face Off, That one really got my attention.
Yeah.
That was like super super interesting, and then his career just exploded, after that. And so what does the rest of 2022 like for you as a creator, and in crypto and producing, acting? What is the rest of your 2022 and beyond look like?
Yeah, so great questions. As I mentioned, the 49 videos of content that I
Yeah.
produced and directed, they will be on multiple marketplaces. So I'm dropping uh, n- um, on
Nice.
Solana. I'm going to drop on Magic Eden. I'm going to drop on Soulsea. I'm going to drop with
Okay.
Polygon, Matic. I'm going to drop on Rarible. So I'm going to make sure I'm on multiple marketplaces with my curations. Not only am I an NFT artist, but I'm a
Okay.
collector. I just became I got an invitation from Gary Vee for
Nice.
V Friends. So just yesterday I got my V2. So I'm really excited about that. Nyla, I'm in that collection with Nyla Hayes. So tomorrow she's doing a drop, and I'm gonna pick up some mints there. So I'm gonna keep collecting brands that I'm a fan of, that I'm a part of. I like to get involved in different communities. I'm gonna continue to be a healthy educator in the space of NFTs with ethics, morals, and values. I think the psychology of NFTs, the abundant aspect of it, of onboarding people, which I do. I have a pink sheet. So when people go to chonacas.com, my last name, my website, I have a pink sheet that I curated about 6 months ago of ethical human beings that I respect and admire, of being in the space since 2018, of people I look
Wow.
up to. So Twitter spaces that you can be in by following them on Instagram and Twitter, so people can just do their own research and learn. I've been every day on TikTok with Chonacas
Okay.
as my handle, to be an educator in a fun way as an artist on
Okay.
TikTok. And I'm going to continue the podcast. And also in March, for International Women's Day, I did a drop, because I'm all about exploring divine femininity in
Okay.
all genders. And so not only am I a artist collector, but I'm a producer and a curator. So I curated a bunch of NFT artists who are in the space, and onboarded some people as NFT artists, and did a collaboration. And each collection and collaboration, 20-30% goes to a
Nice.
nonprofit, Mental Health Alliance, or something of that nature. So this one in particular, 20% goes to the Ukraine
Okay.
crisis. And
Very good.
so, yeah. And so it was all about women empowerment and exploring divine femininity. And I was able to curate that. So I'm going to be able to curate more for not only myself, but
Okay.
other artists. And I've been involved in about 9 different NFT exhibitions with
Wow.
other artists. I was in South by Southwest this year. I was in
Yeah.
ETH Denver. I
We
just
had
got,
we
I've
had
been in three.
John Pauler,
Oh, sorry.
founder of ETH Denver. We had him on the show, and he's coming back on.
Dope.
We're gonna do a video here coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
So that's awesome that you were at ETH
sweet.
Denver too. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to go to NFT NYC?
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. Are you gonna check it out? Okay.
I'll be
Awesome.
there.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we're
Well,
having an event
if I go,
there
we'll
too. And,
definitely
and
connect. Yeah. While you're there. Yeah.
cool.
Wow. So
Yeah.
all
Very
kinds of
nice.
different, events and different things that you have going, in the NFT space and crypto space. When did you first get in? I got in late. I have the show, this podcast, but honestly, I got in 2017. I had lunch yesterday with a friend who got in 2010. He bought Bitcoin at $32.
Mm.
And I just
I
had tears of water coming down my face. But you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I knew about it. I mean, I didn't take action. I was just observing. Like, I was like, "Oh, what is this?" Like, I was really interested, and I didn't take action in Bitcoin when I found out about it. So I just like was just observing what other
Yeah,
people were doing, and I think that's just in my innate nature to do that, to kind of like learn and observe
yeah.
before taking action. But when I strike, it's just like I'm like Armitas's twin sister. I'm just like the huntress, like going after it, the
I actually
hunter.
didn't get it in the future in the very beginning. I actually learned about Bitcoin and crypto in LA. So my friend in real estate investing, and I'm just chilling in LA with him, and he's telling me about this thing called Bitcoin. And honestly, I didn't get it, and I always have that in the back of my head when I'm teaching or sharing with this podcast and episodes, to really try to paint a picture and take people down the path of, and a lot of people are non-technical, right? I'm like a techie myself. I'm all into technology, but I try to really release information and break it down in a simple way, because I remember it wasn't that long ago, when crypto was new to me, back in 17.
It's still very new, and you're not late. People say we're still very early.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there are people who just don't even know what an
Yeah.
NFT is. Like, some people have never even heard of it. So, like, I'm visiting my family in
Okay.
Michigan right now, and I haven't talked to a lot of people, but a lot, like, even not even in Michigan, even in New York and
Yeah,
LA, like, people still don't know about it, and yeah, so we are still very
absolutely.
early
And
on.
adoption is, we're in the process of living through, we fast forward 20 years from now, we're going to be able to look back and remember that here we are living through the adoption of the masses, people learning and knowing about crypto and NFTs and metaverse and what is digital land, like what, you know, so
Yeah,
it's really exciting
yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, 1000%. I was just at a conference recently, NFT San Diego. I was a speaker. I spoke on mental health and the psychology of
Wow.
NFTs. And there's an event coming up in LA, a conference, NFT conference, and I'm a speaker there on
Uh-huh.
a women panel. And yeah, and then there's also Podfest is coming up. So I'm not only speaking at NFT conferences, I'm now speaking at podcast
Nice.
conferences to educate podcasters how they can talk to them, so I can share with them what I've learned about utility and how, the segments and psychology of how you can make your podcast NFTs and the value and why, and what I've learned thus far. You know what I mean? So
Fantastic.
it's super cool how it's all cross promoting, but you and me, we're the healthy communicators who show up and just share and hold space for what we
Yeah,
learned along the way. Not that
right.
it's right or wrong, just like this is my own experience, do
Yeah,
your own research, but here we are, let's learn and grow together. And that's what I love about Web3 is there's no like
yeah,
gatekeeping, it's exposing ourselves and being
yeah.
vulnerable and holding hands and doing it together. And with cross country running, that's what I learned
Uh-huh.
really young, like I said, what you do as an individual affects the whole, so it's a team
Absolutely.
sport and we're in this life
And everyone in
together. Yeah.
crypto and Web3 and NFTs is so they're so welcoming, as opposed to maybe other industries. I come from like the finance background and institutional investment, different things like that. But with the crypto side, like everyone, they're so welcoming. They share their resources. Hey, let me introduce you to so and so. And it's global and it's borderless, and I love that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
1000%,
and
I
it's
agree.
like it's possibly the greatest opportunity of our lifetime, and we're living through it right now. So, yeah,
We get to what a gift. It's life is such a blessing and such a
absolutely.
gift.
So, Katie, how can our listeners reach out to you? Like, what's the best way that someone can stay in the conversation or contact you and things like that? Listening to the show.
Yeah, definitely. You're so sweet. Chonacas.com is my website. So everything artistically that I do, everything I'm up to is there. All my social media is there. She's All Over the Place podcast. So definitely tune in. We have over
Okay.
80 episodes. So and we're in season 4 right now, which is the women empowerment series, exploring divine femininity and all genders. So yeah, those are the
Okay.
places.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners? Before we wrap up here.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I have a
Okay.
merch line. I have a merch line, and the cool thing about NFTs with some utilities and the licensing agreements like Board Ape Yacht Club and Tokyo Punks, which is my friend Sabit's project, the Tokyo Punks, and like I have a 90s babe. I love that project. You have 100% rights. So like my logo is like my punk. I made a whole merch line of my punk. So people, if they're into like crypto and they like my punk, I call her Cartoon Katie, they can go and support me as an
Wow.
artist and, of crypto and NFTs and look up my merch. That's really cool. I took my NFTs that I'm a collector of that I own and made a merch line out of
Fantastic.
them.
We'll definitely have that link on episode blog post page, for today. I love what you
Cool.
said about NFTs with utility because right now I'm currently building out the prototype for a crypto investors board game, kind of like Kiyosaki's Cash Flow meets Monopoly in a way, with like a physical board game that people can play. And the way that people are going to be able to access and purchase that is by purchasing the NFT, and then the actual board game will be released, and shipped and sent out to them. So that's all in development right now. But when you talked about the utility aspect, it just made me think of, because I'm working on this right now, this project, and working on the, yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Working on the first book, the first new to crypto book, and I have the outline for
Ooh.
book number 2 already created and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm excited. I mean, we're here creating together
absolutely.
right now. So we just sowed a seed, planted a seed, keep nourishing it and create and develop some things
Absolutely. Hey,
together.
Katie, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, and you're welcome back anytime. We'll have to have you come back on. And, you know,
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Yes. Thank
if you
you.
like today's episode, definitely like and subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, click that little bell notification and subscribe to the channel. Show your support and chime in here tomorrow for another special episode. Until then, make it a great day.